You done this. Okay, fade to black. Oh, I should turn my light on. All right, going live in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for November 7th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, we get the latest on Grand Theft Auto 6, and Nintendo has to answer to its investors. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host and returning champion to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa. Jan, how are you doing?
I have risen.
There he is, everybody.
Risen
happy.
two Z's.
Oh, okay, risen. Yes, of course. Yeah,
Thank you Karate Tron for that joke.
That's it's very good. How you doing?
Bad. Health wise, I'm okay. Well, I don't know where or when I'll talk about what happened, but it'll eventually. Maybe you know what, we talk about enough health problems of the mental and physical variety on Voicemail Dump Truck. Maybe I'll save it for there.
That's good. Yeah, absolutely. I
did ask 3 doctors if consuming 9 hot dogs in quick succession did affect my health, and all 3 of them looked at me, and I felt the gears turning in their head of, did I go to however many years of medical school to hear this problem? And they all said no.
Okay.
So, it's okay.
You're in the clear. So Giant Bomb is not liable. There we go. That's all we were looking for, everybody.
Yep.
That's in the clear. Voicemail Dump Truck sounds like a good place. We'll air all of our medical histories on there. Let's do it. Send in your health questions, everybody, because we got that.
We totally got that. And Grubb, I know that we do the plugs at the end, and I know that this is a video game news show. But because of current state of events. By the way, fantastic message from the Tippity Toppity, yesterday's episode of Game Mess Mornings with Jason Finelli. Shouts out to Jason, huh?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Good boy.
I just want to take this time to further reemphasize, Grubb, and I know I'm springing this on you.
But do it.
GiantBomb.com will forever be a safe haven for our BIPOC friends, women, people that identify as women, our trans friends, forever and always. We bang with y'all, all right?
Yep.
Forever and always. So if you don't feel safe, you can at least feel safe in this little pocket of the internet. And we love you. Kiss on the cheek.
Yep. That's it goes doubly. Yep. We just want you to feel safe here. It feels like the thing we can control. And so we're gonna do our best to make that so.
Despite all the dumb BS that we talk about and the different names that we come up with as vanity URLs for this website, and maybe I do fawn over after fictional characters too much. I still support you over that.
Yes, absolutely. You're more important than our desires for video game characters. All right, we've decided that once and for all.
I will stop being the Tex Avery wolf with his tongue rolling out and eyes.
Stop.
But if anything, we bang with y'all.
Yep. It's doublehorny.com, but doublysafe.com as well, everybody.
Doublysafe.com.
Yep. Just keep coming hang out here. I think that's something you can control as well, right? Like, go to the places, go to ground, right? Go someplace where you can recoup, recover, and we're gonna do our best for this to be that place for you. Keep hanging.
And hey, if that message bothers you at all, that we support our trans friends, support women, support BIPOC people, then get the hell out
of here. Get out.
Yeah. Or learn.
Yeah. I mean, just I promise you, I'm happier than you. If just try it. Just try being more like us, and I promise you'll be happier. It really is the truth. And
Grubb has a house. What about that?
Yeah, exactly. Just to do better. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Grand Theft Auto 6 is still on track for fall 2025 release. This is from Tom Ivan over at VGC. The Grand Theft Auto 6 release date remains on track for fall of calendar 2025. Publisher Take-Two confirmed the game's planned launch window hasn't changed as part of its second quarter financial results on Wednesday. The first Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer was released in December 2023, confirming a planned 2025 release date. It racked up more than 100 million views in just 2 days, surpassing the lifetime views of GTA 5's debut trailer, making it one of the most viewed trailers in YouTube history. Updating its financial guidance in May, Take-Two narrowed the game's release window from calendar 2025 to the fall of next year, fall of 2025. During a subsequent interview with CNBC, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick discussed the process of deciding product release dates and how companies know when the time is right for the creative perspective. From the creative perspective, there are elements that you can actually measure. For example, the number of bugs in a title, and every one of us will make sure we have as few bugs as possible before we. Oh, shut up, Strauss! You're not doing. What are you talking about? However, in the case of an extraordinary title for which there are extraordinary expectations, it's not really about bugs. It's about creating an experience that no one's seen before. And Rockstar Games seeks perfection in what they do. And perfection is indeed hard to measure. It really is more subjective than objective. Boy, that's a bunch of bullshit. But whatever. Hey, GTA 6, they started off saying 2025. I think when they were saying that, Jan, we were speculating. I think a lot of analysts were expecting that to mean potentially early 2025. They never said that. When they did narrow it down, they narrowed it down beyond the current fiscal year. And the reason we thought it would be this fiscal year, so like by March of 2025, was they had big ideas in their head and that they were telling investors about big numbers for the next fiscal year or whatever, or for the current fiscal year that we're still in. But that shifted. And so, kind of a delay, not technically a delay, but a little bit of a delay. So they put it in late 2025. So the thing's already kind of had a mini technical delay, but they're not right now. They're saying, well, there won't be another one. By fall 2025, we're going to be playing this thing. And I keep feeling like, nah, we got to get one big delay for this thing.
Yeah, this game is, I hate to use this, Grubb, but it feels too important and too big to not take all of the time necessary to address whatever bugs, to address whatever else needs to happen with the release and the launch of the game, that I do feel like they have been very vague about a specific time window. That narrowing it down to even fall 2025 at this point still feels like they're padding out time to fall 2025 or like latter half of 2025, early 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that. I don't want to say that I read that in the tea leaves, but it feels like it is a distinct possibility for GTA 6, especially if they're already talking about addressing all of these bugs now.
Yeah, and we, there's a lot from Take-Two here in the news today, and a lot of the stories are addressing exactly what you're getting at when you started there, that GTA 6 is so important. I mean, obviously, I think it is important to the industry, but it's clearly massively important to the future of Take-Two. To the point where it like as that game goes, so does that corporation, because they don't have a lot of other eggs in their basket. That that's one of the things we're going to talk about here in a second from them. So they, saying they have to get it right. It's software plus art. It's difficult and weird, and they're gonna they'll put something out, and it might not resemble what the game will look like in 5 years' time. Like, of course, we've been through that dance a bunch of times now. But yeah. I think ideally what they're looking for here is put out a game that just gets a bunch of 10s and has a working online mode that they can start to like build onto immediately, and just immediately restart the engine of a game that can sell 205 million copies, which is, we'll talk about that in a second. So, how do you get to the point where you feel good about putting out a game like that? It feels impossible.
It feels absolutely impossible, Grubb. But at the same time, I feel like the landscape of game releases has become so different, and expectations have become so different. If GTA 6 decided to launch as like an open beta or like a beta phase or unfinished phase, like before they hit 1.0, people would still eat that up. And people would still be flocking to download GTA 6 and play it in whatever state it's in, even if it's maybe just a stripped down GTA Online mode or the full story isn't there yet. I think if Rockstar wanted to go to that approach, they would still sell gangbusters.
I think you're right.
Yeah. If they wanted to treat it like, hey, you guys test out all the bugs for us, people would jump at the chance.
Yeah. And that might be pretty similar to what I think, the online mode ends up looking like for this. I imagine it does go something like GTA 6 launches, and it is very much about these new characters and their world and the story there. And then there is a GTA Online mode that sort of resets the clock in the way that The Sims often does, or the Madden games at the beginning of a generation does, where you lose several significant features, but they make big promises about what the future could hold. And so you kind of like start small, and it does feel a little bit like a testing period. And maybe it is. GTA Online originally kind of launched that way. Unfinished, not really very robust, easy to bounce off of, but it had some juice. And that was pretty obvious right away to the developers, which is why they immediately went into supporting it. And now here we are several years later, and it is just this machine that prints money.
Even if GTA 6 has like a bad initial launch that is full of bugs, I don't think it would hurt it in the same way that it hurt games like Cyberpunk or even Fallout 76. Because I think the name GTA 6, people will just the greater general audience will just grit their teeth and bear it. Because they want to be in that world or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, it's there's not a lot of other options for getting that thing, because Grand Theft Auto has pushed out all the other competitors in the space, and really nothing rises to its level. So, and it's a cultural iconic institution now. The trailer did come out for Grand Theft Auto 6, and it is instantly one of the most watched videos for a trailer for a product ever. So it's Grand Theft Auto has that sort of cachet, and I think people will want to love it no matter what. Now, if it's fundamentally broken and like people are losing their saves and things like that, it's so big it could also like turn into a really big thing where it's like, Cyberpunk had news stories and stuff like that written about it in the mainstream media. That could happen, but I think Grand Theft Auto just is this unstoppable force, right? And there are no immovable objects you can put in front of it.
I'm expecting GTA 6 to have news stories around the launch regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, for sure.
Whether it's like, I can't believe they're letting people steal cars in a game. They're shaking butts.
They are shaking butts. We did see that in the trailer. And the butt shaking physics technology was very impressive, which is what I respect. I respect the technology. All right, like I said, there's a whole bunch more of about GTA 6, about GTA 5, about Take-Two. Speaking of GTA 6, and maybe, hey, was this game is this game gonna work on the Xbox Series S? The developers are saying they're not worried about it. That's according to Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Grand Theft Auto 6 is in development for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. But how will the game look and perform on the relatively less powerful Series S? We don't know for sure, but Take-Two boss Strauss Zelnick is not losing sleep over it. During Take-Two's latest earnings call, Zelnick was asked about the Series S being, by design, a lower spec console compared to the Series X and PS5. GTA 6 is expected to be a boundary-pushing game, technically speaking, prompting concerns by some that it won't be a great experience on the console. Look, we support the platforms where the consumers are for as long as they're there, and we find a way to support platforms despite different levels of tech. Our labels are really good at that. I'm not really worried. And I think I buy this because they are going to want to put this thing out on PC, supporting a wide variety of SKU or of capabilities there. This is also a series that historically GTA 5 launched on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, right?
God.
And that always messes me up whenever I remember that, because I just do not associate that game with those consoles at all. But that's where it started. So them like kind of building this game for Xbox Series S and having that in mind is probably something that's happening. But they're also building it in such a way that like they know this game's going to be around for a long time, so they can continue to improve it and update it for a very long time to take advantage of new hardware as it comes along. That sounds right to me. How about you?
Absolutely, Grubb. They want to hit everyone where they're at, especially if you look at the math and how there are still people playing Call of Duty, the Maddens of the world on PS4, or playing Fortnite even on PS4, Xbox Series S. Rockstar is going to try and hit those people where they're at still, because they don't have to move consoles. They just have to move copies of the game. I think there's also a world where maybe 6 months down the line, from the initial console PC release, we'll see rumblings of GTA 6 coming out on phones.
Yep.
Because, we see Apple talking all the time about like, hey, you can play Resident Evil 4 on your phone. It looks great. Somehow justify spending $60 on your phone for a game. I think that world is quickly going to also come to phones as well as the old generation of consoles.
Yeah, it's possible that the old gen. I think it'll probably look something like this. It comes out for Xbox Series X and S and PlayStation 5, and then we're sort of like in a holding pattern until it'll take advantage of the PS5 Pro, obviously. But I think next year we get the PC version, and then not long after that, like by the next year, we could have new Xbox hardware by 2026. So they probably just focus on like supporting the next new thing. And at that point, they won't need to support older consoles anymore. As much as we've seen weird things like many big games get backported to PS4 and Xbox One, that probably won't be necessary for a game launching in fall of 2025. We actually should be pretty decoupled from those consoles by that point, especially a game that can dictate people to go out and buy new hardware if you don't have it. If you are still on a PS4 and you're playing Fortnite, one of the things you've probably been waiting for is a big game to give you a reason, and that probably has always been GTA 6. So I think they will take advantage of that and just ride or die with the current gen and then forward. But yeah, Xbox Series S not being a problem. We'll see. It probably will be almost certainly is going to be demonstrably less performative than the other versions. But I bet it's not going to be some huge issue for this game. Especially if they probably have some of the best tech people in the industry able to take advantage of this stuff. So we'll see.
An obscene amount of people.
Yes, for real. All right. GTA 5 has now sold over 205 million copies. This is from Andrew McLarney at DualShockers. Rockstar Games' most popular title, GTA 5, has achieved another monumental milestone in terms of its already towering sales figures. In addition to its excellent sales record, GTA 5 also remains the most watched game on streams worldwide, which speaks to its broad popularity across the gaming community. Released in 2013 and now is over time and several versions later, 205 million copies. It's just in a completely different stratosphere. Obviously, I think they talk about it here. Yeah, it's selling well because people just like GTA. They associate like GTA as a canon game, a Mount Rushmore of video games that you just get when you get hardware. But I think also the online mode and being able to get certain like bonuses in the game and shark cards that you can use on stuff in the game whenever you buy the game has caused people to go out and repurchase GTA 5 multiple times. And that has just completely caused them to run up the score here to 205 million copies sold.
I don't know why I get offended that it feels unfair, Grubb.
Yep.
It offends me for whatever reason. But hey, this game is, God, I want to say I might have 3 copies of this game.
Oh yeah.
And I can't pinpoint where I have this game.
I think I own it Xbox 360 now because it came with the Xbox 360 I bought for Blight Club. I definitely have it already. I think I have it digitally on Xbox One and PS4, I want to say, and then PC. So yeah, I got like 4 copies. That just happens, right? With these really big games, it sort of just falls in your lap sometimes. But yeah, it goes beyond that. Like us just sort of happening to get 3 or 4 copies, like that. Sure, that accounts for a lot of the sales. It does not actually account for 205 million copies sold. That is just not normal. And so that's where the GTA Online stuff comes into play.
I'm really curious to see, exactly how much GTA Online's influence in like the last couple of years specifically, Grubb, has skyrocketed that number. If there was like a giant jump because of the prevalence of streamers playing GTA Online and RP servers. I always thought that GTA Online RP servers were a very niche thing until I saw how big they actually
that's one
were.
of the reasons it's the most watched game on Twitch is because of those RP servers, role play servers, people that are pretending to do stuff for people that wonder what we mean. Yeah, the role playing servers are massively popular.
It makes me curious, Grubb, that I think there was a world where GTA 5 or GTA Online was not popular, and then we were still talking about Second Life.
Sure, I'll still talk about Second Life with you if you want, man. Don't you worry. Yeah, I'm very curious. Remembering back to news stories we talked about on this show of Rockstar acquiring the people that make Grand Theft Auto 5 role playing possible. And what does that look like in GTA 6? What is that? How do they sort of present that to the community of players that don't know what that is? But clearly enough of them are going to, because it is so popular on Twitch that it's just become part of what Grand Theft Auto can be. But how does a company sort of incorporate that themselves, and does that take out some of the magic if it's like officially sanctioned? I don't know. I'm very curious. Kind of can't wait to see how that all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sticking with Take-Two Interactive Software subsidiary private division has been sold to an undisclosed buyer. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Take-Two Interactive Software has sold independent games-focused publishing label private division to an undisclosed buyer as it shifts to focus on larger game projects, the company announced. Take-Two Interactive Software CEO Strauss Zelnick told GamesIndustry.biz that buyer will be disclosed relatively soon. The purchase includes the private division label and all of its live and unreleased projects. Take-Two Interactive Software, however, will continue to support Moon Studios' action RPG No Rest for the Wicked, which launched under the label in early access for PC via Steam on April 18th and is planned for a full release across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, consoles, and PC. Currently, private division and developer Weta Workshop are planning to release single-player life simulation game Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, Switch, and PC via Steam on March 25th, 2025. Yeah, this is I think kind of just saw Strauss Zelnick say it, where he's like, every game that private division worked on and published was a success. They did great on everything. It's just, not enough money for what we care about. It's like, oh man. So, okay, that's weird. We like only the biggest stuff matters to Take-Two. And I guess if you're sort of, throwing off the averages with Grand Theft Auto, it makes anything that isn't like a grand slam home run look like a waste of your time. And clearly they decided it was a waste of their time. But to hear like, no, this is a label that did its job exactly as we set them out to do it. And they succeeded, and like no problems there. But we don't want it because it's just not making big enough games. It's like, okay, where do these games go? This is just a weird thing to me.
Yeah, this feels bad, Grubb, where people are doing their job and doing their job well, but for whatever metrics, it's still not good enough for the parent company. I don't get it.
Did my Discord messages go off there? Sorry, everybody. I muted the tab there. There we go. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, I'm like looking at kind of the history of private division and being like, yeah, I mean they did a lot of cool stuff. Games that I think would were big, Outer Worlds, things like that. Now clearly they don't have Outer Worlds anymore, but it's like games like that where like your first one is a pretty big hit and it feels like if you stick with it, and you keep investing in the franchise, the sequels could be even bigger. There's clearly a plan there, but I don't know. I think this run to this sort of sprint to the top of let's only make bets when they can have the biggest possible return, and diversification is only for like those big like one, like are we going to make this kind of big bet or that kind of big bet instead of let's have 7 medium-sized bets. For me, I think it has had a detrimental effect on the quality of the industry overall, and it has left massive chasms open in the kinds of games available on storefronts, and we've had to turn to indie developers, which have been picking up the slack, which has been great. But there's definitely I think there's been word from multiple former executives talk about like, yeah, we try to get these big companies to care about AA games, and they really should like feel a responsibility to build that up because that contributes to the overall health of the industry. Mm-hmm. And every choice they make, when we see them make like something like to their investors and they're like, here's what we're doing and why we're doing it, it's always like, oh, there's no way that they're ever going to be in that space ever again.
Yeah, I feel terrible for games that I feel like could have been, I don't want to say could have been good, but could have hit the mark or could have found like their niche audience where they become hits. I look at a game from, God, was it last year? Immortals of Avium, and think, you know what? I think there was a really good game there that just needed a little bit of editing, a little bit more love and time. And like a AA game like that, we definitely need stuff like those types of games, Grubb, because I'm very tired of AAA games.
Yeah, me too.
I understand that I'm not the audience for like the big Call of Duties. That being said, I am enjoying Blop 6. But we do need that space of other games of like, oh, this is like the $30-$40 game that isn't necessarily hurting a studio, but it's like moving a studio along.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even when I do show up for a Blop 6, it doesn't move me that much anymore. There was a time when Call of Duty definitely did, and I just, even when it's like, this is a really good one of those, it's not just fun multiplayer, it's got an interesting campaign, all this stuff, but it's coloring within the lines. It is, it's filling in, it's paint by numbers, and that they have to do it that way because they have to mitigate risks, and they have to just make big investments in things that people have already proven that they wanted. And so when they deliver a good one of those, it's like, great, we do want this, absolutely, but it just doesn't feel like fresh and new and exciting, which is, I think, an important aspect of gaming, from the beginning. There's always been this emphasis on novelty and innovation. Because again, software plus art, you want to be able to do something new because you can do something new in video games. Those biggest bets are always going to be sort of leaning away from that sort of thing because it is it increases the risk, and if you're making a big bet, that's the last thing you want. So do that in the medium-sized games, do that in smaller games, and I thought Private Division was the answer for that, and clearly it actually was the answer for this thing that we're talking about. It's just that is it's not just not a priority for Take-Two. It's something that they consider a complete distraction.
Oh man, it just feels scummy, Grubb.
Yep.
Like I want Private Division to continue to succeed and continue to do a great job, but find like a proper support system.
Yep. Speaking of scummy, there was back in May, Bloomberg reported that Take-Two had closed Roll 7 and Intercept Games as part of this Private Division stuff, sort of streamlining it so they could sell it. And Strauss Zelnick was like, we didn't close them. They confirmed that they have closed Roll 7 and Intercept Games. Zelnick has now said that has happened. So that one frustrates me because I've reported stuff before and CEOs have been like, that's not true, and it just very much is. But it's like, horse's mouth is saying it's not true, so Jeff Grubb must be lying. So when they get their comeuppance and something like this, I appreciate it. But boy, just weird choices. Strauss Zelnick always strikes me as a bit weird when he does stuff like that. But I don't know. I guess they got, when you got GTA 6, you can kind of afford to be weird and make brash decisions and leave behind smaller bets and just focus on the biggest thing, because it will make more money than all that stuff combined 20,000 times over. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, let's talk about Warner Brothers, Nintendo talk to its investors, plenty more after that, right after this. All right back into it. It is earnings season. Warner Brothers did theirs as well. Warner Brothers Games lost enormous amounts of money this year. The CEO blames lack of consistency. Excuse me. This is from Darren Bontheus at GameSpot. During today's Warner Brothers Discovery Q3 earnings calls, CEO David Zaslav commented on the company's gaming and film divisions and how they'll be expected to deliver more consistency with their releases. It has been a tough year for Warner Brothers Discovery, as several of its high-profile releases, including Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Multiverses, and Joker Folie à Deux, have drastically underperformed. Zaslav said that the company's games business is currently underperforming its potential and that inconsistency remains an issue in its various divisions. And that's via The Verge. Zaslav added that Warner Brothers Games revenue declined 31% between July and September when compared to the previous year, as Mortal Kombat 1 launched during that window in 2023, so it was a tough comparison. Multiverses in particular has led to a big shortfall for Warner Brothers Games. They said, we took another 100 million plus impairment due to the underperforming releases, primarily Multiverses this quarter, bringing total write-down year-to-date to over $300 million in our gaming business, a key factor in this year's studio profit decline. This is where it's like, this is a company that has their own studios internally, are making their own games, and they've had some successes, but like, boy, they always feel overshadowed by when they have their missteps. Their missteps always seem to explode into bigger missteps. And I think Multiverses maybe is a good example of that, where, Multiverses had some juice when it launched. It had some excitement, but Warner Brothers was like, okay, that means we're turning this into an ongoing live service game that is going to be this money printing thing for a very long time, and that's the only way we're going to be happy with it. When it was very clear, I think, at the time, and especially now, after they took it offline from their, beta, as they called it later, and they're like, it was early access, and we're going to bring it back, and we'll relaunch it, and we're going to do basically the same exact thing all over again, and hope for different results. It's been clear this entire time that they should have just gone the route of what like Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl does, or whatever it's called, of put out a product. Just put it out for $45 to $65. Release it with, and have a couple extra characters as DLC, and then put out a Multiverses 2 in 3 or 4 years. When people are pining for it. I just make it a product. Why can't you do that? And it's because these companies are addicted to this notion of endless money. And they thought they could do that there. So Multiverses becomes this big thing that they invested a lot of money in, and it blew up in their faces, right?
100% it blew up in their faces. I feel like public perception of Multiverses was already skewed from the jump. And then it definitely soured a lot of people's mouths when they took it down, claiming like, we'll bring it back. And when it came back, there was zero to no fanfare. And then it already had that dirty reputation of like, y'all took this down and y'all weren't 100% sure why you took it down. Are you going to take it away again? And on top of that, from my slight association with people that are into Smash, I understand that it just wasn't a Smash hit with them as well. Also, Grubb, if several things are failing, and movies, video games, maybe it's a problem at the top.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I mean, and we do know that with the Suicide Squad, where it's like they're just the game's not coming together. It's not coming together. Well, you're Rocksteady, so it just will come together. Put it out. And it's like, well, that's not a Rocksteady decision. That's I'm sure that was some people at Rocksteady maybe buying into the Kool-Aid there, drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but. That belief did come from the top of it's Rocksteady. They will make this game good because they're Rocksteady, that Rocksteady magic. And that repeatedly we've seen that be executives making that air and then it blowing up in their faces in that way as well.
like, I just don't understand Grub. Like, after I understand that the original Suicide Squad movie critically panned, and I think it did okay box office wise. But why return to that well with the James Gunn movie that was actually good, um, and then with the game several years later after Suicide Squad or the name Suicide Squad had like that dark cloud hanging over it?
Yeah.
Why? Especially when Warner Brothers has so much fantastic IP. We saw it all in Space Jam 2. Why release bad games? Why not make good things, Grub?
Yeah, it was like, I think going with Suicide Squad was always confusing. That was always a weird one. Because I mean, as you point out, like we got a few years from, like not even a few years, like a few months removed from the release of that movie, the first Suicide Squad, and like the feeling on that changed really rapidly. But I think, the executives are just looking at the bar graph, and like that movie made a lot of money, made a ton of money. So let's we know that's a powerful IP. Let's have Rocksteady work on that. And Rocksteady, I'm sure they did have a say in it a little bit. Maybe felt
Sure.
comfortable because they like saw the bar graph themselves. But it's like, I think we could have all told you that this was not going to be the thing that was going to be something that people cared about this many years later. And then that definitely got proven when the James Gunn movie came out, and it was on Max, but it just didn't have the same. It didn't land with the same thunder. It was a thud.
Mhm.
All right. Let's shift gears over to Nintendo. Nintendo did have its earnings report earlier this week. We talked about that a bunch yesterday and on Giant Bombcast. But they now had a chance to answer investor questions. And I've got a couple of these here. They've been machine translated, so there could be some errors. We'll do our best to sort through it, though. Most of these are pretty standard, or Nintendo gives pretty standard answers, but we'll talk about them anyhow. In today's presentation, this is the first question, by the way. In today's presentation, it was mentioned that the successor to Nintendo Switch will be able to play Nintendo Switch software and continue to support Nintendo Switch Online. Given this, won't the motivation for current Nintendo Switch owners to purchase the new hardware immediately upon release be diminished? How does Nintendo plan to convey the unique appeal of the successor console to these consumers and customers? And I think what they're saying is like, if it's similar enough that like Switch games will just work on this new thing, how this new thing feels special, and not necessarily that new games won't be exciting. But the answer comes from President Shuntaro Furukawa, who said, "We explained that the successor to the Nintendo Switch will allow users to play software designed for the Nintendo Switch. Given the wide adoption of the Nintendo Switch, we believe that making it possible for customers to play their existing Nintendo Switch software on the successor console is the optimal choice. This compatibility will allow customers to continue enjoying the games they've already purchased and select their next titles from the extensive library available for Nintendo Switch. We will provide further information about the successor console, including the compatibility with Nintendo Switch at a later date. As a company that offers integrated hardware and software entertainment, we are committed to showcasing the appeal through various approaches as we have done in the past." So, I mean, really what he's just saying is, look, it's silly not to take advantage of the success that we had with the Switch. It would be silly to leave that library behind. Customers would not like it if they invested all that stuff in the Switch 1, and it could work on Switch 2, but it just doesn't. So like on that side of things, didn't really have a choice. And then at the same time, when it comes time to make the Switch 2 feel special, well, we're Nintendo, we'll make Nintendo games that are only playable on the Switch 2, and that sort of takes care of itself. That sounds right to me. How about you?
100%, Grub, especially when you have already built out that audience with people that have so many Switches. Why not keep catering to them or keep appealing to them, or justify people upgrading to whatever the Switch 2 will be, of like, you could take your games with you. Yeah, it's fine. I see that as a definite incentive. There's Tomp in chat mentions that the PS2 did gangbusters because it was backwards compatible. I thought that was super cool as a kid, of like, I can keep playing my PS1 games.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be that generation of gamers as well, younger gamers that may be hesitant to like, oh, can I not play that anymore if I move on to the next console? But Nintendo seems to be understanding of that. And I feel weird thinking that Nintendo understands their audience.
Yeah.
In a technical way.
Yeah. But listen, at the very least, they understand what gets people to buy a console. And, for as much as like, okay, when this question, when they say it's like, okay, I think I see what you're getting at. But like, think about how many households have 2 Switches. Like, they bought a second Switch when they already owned a Switch. So the unique proposition there was nothing, like other than maybe an OLED screen or an improved battery life or maybe a special design on it. But those are effectively nothing. That's the same exact console. So that unique, or the lack of unique proposition, did not stop someone from spending more money on more hardware for the exact same thing. So having something that will be an improvement, will have games that are exclusive to it, that is such a vast difference of, well, that clearly is unique. So Nintendo's already figured out how to sell the same thing to people over and over again. Now when they have, all that going with it, where it's like, yeah, hey, all the reasons that you bought a second Switch, and maybe you've been thinking about getting a third Switch for whatever crazy reason. Maybe you have multiple people in your house and you're like, man, I wish we had one more Switch so we could pass around this copy of Mario Kart and the kid can play that. Well, that will still apply now to the Switch 2, on top of all of the benefits you get from having new hardware, new games. So, yeah, I think Nintendo will be just fine there. All right, the second question. Rising development costs have become a significant issue in the gaming industry. How does Nintendo view this situation, and will the company's R&D spending continue to grow? Can anything be done on the hardware side to control these increasing development costs? Miyamoto actually answered this one and said, Nintendo's research and development expenses have been rising yearly. Given that the scale of development has expanded, some cost increases are unavoidable. However, we place more importance on the content we create rather than the size of the development budget. We aim to create products we believe will satisfy our customers, investing as much effort as necessary to ensure a polished final product. A key element in identifying themes worth refining, a principle that has remained unchanged since the days of the family computer, the Famicom, Jan. While personal preferences vary, it is certain that innovations, things never seen before, are always worth exploring. The more we refine such novel concepts, the more value they acquire. Our focus is on nurturing developers who value Nintendo's uniqueness, enabling them to dedicate sufficient resources to reach a satisfying level of competition for each game. In the entertainment industry, including toys, it is possible to create appealing products based on the creativity of ideas without high costs. Not every product needs to have high development expenses. In gaming, too, it's possible to create fun experiences with a small team and a short development period given today's technology. Maintaining this perspective is crucial. And I think we've seen them exercise exactly this over the years, right?
Yeah, 100% Grubb. I understand that development costs are going up across the board, but I don't see it being as big of a problem for Nintendo as compared to PlayStation and Xbox because of, I think, the design ethos of Nintendo, where, hey, what if we give Zelda chair or Zelda table?
Yep.
Versus turning Legend of Zelda or turning Link into a sad dad game.
Yep.
It also feels like the folks behind Nintendo, I don't want to say are more innovative, but more willing to play around with odd ideas that may appeal to people of all ages.
I think they just believe in their creativity a little bit more. I think that, not more creative or anything like that, but they believe that is, and that's what he's saying here, that they believe that is the selling feature more than anything else. And I mean, I bet a lot of other companies, a lot of people at Microsoft and Sony and various other third-party publishers also believe that. But they're like, well, but it's hard. And what one thing we can do, like pretty easily, is spend more money than anyone else to make this look better. And that is its own feature as well. And that has worked, but it has led us to the point we're at where games have felt unsustainable.
Yeah, it feels like Nintendo has continued the design ethos that is still very prevalent, or I guess it's the other way around, where indie devs have continued the same spirit of Nintendo with their own games and embracing the oddities. Like, I don't know why the first thing to come to mind was, I love how weird Octodad is. And I love how Octodad is become like a part of like the cultural gaming canon, along with something like QWOP. And it feels like Nintendo is looking at stuff like a Octodad more so of like, how can we get just as weird with something like Octodad or Bug Snacks versus in Uncharted. Like Nintendo is not looking at The Last of Us and thinking, how do we do that?
No. And I think when we do see companies looking around and saying, how do we do that? It is, someone in the chat just said, like Sony with Astrobot learning lessons from Nintendo and being like, hey, yeah, let's focus on creative, innovative gameplay, a lot of ideas, a game that looks colorful and bright and shiny. And boy, that worked. That worked really well.
It's a bummer also with PlayStation shutting down studios that did the weird stuff for them.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's so it's them finding Astrobot feels like them doing it maybe in a Sony way a current modern Sony way that they can feel good about. I wish they still had the old really weird Sony way as well. Yeah. That would be ideal. All right, let's see here. The other questions here. We have two other ones. We've read in media articles about about the Nintendo Museum that Mr. Miyamoto gives an annual lecture to new employees. Could you describe the contents of these lectures? Miyamoto said, "If you referred to me as a genius," the question goes on and says he's a genius and all this stuff in your question. But after my annual lectures to new employees and mid-career hires, around 100 to 200 people, I often hear them say, I thought Mr. Miyamoto would be extraordinary, but he's surprisingly normal, which is reassuring. So I think I'm actually quite ordinary. He then says, personally, I feel like life would be more enjoyable without work. But since I do work, I consider how to work efficiently. And if I am to work, how to ensure success so that the next project becomes easier. That's my dude right there. Just like,
wow.
Like, I'm good at this stuff, but I'd rather not even do this. It's the John Carpenters and the Miyamotos of the world that make this whole thing go around. I often discuss such creative challenges in my annual lecture. The lecture is divided into 3 parts. In part 1, I explain Nintendo's history, starting with the Hanafuda playing cards, through toys, and Nintendo's history, up to the present day entertainment company. In part 2, I talk about what Nintendo has valued in game development and what we consider our strengths. For example, I explain the evolution of interfaces, tracing the changes in controllers from the days of the arcade games. And in part 3, I discuss what game design truly entails. Many new developers, especially those who have played a lot of games, often aspire to create more elaborate versions of past games. However, I emphasize that game design involves taking various elements from other surroundings and imagining what might make an entertaining video game experience out of that. I also explain that game design is akin to engineering thinking akin to an engineer thinking about the hardware or development environment at hand, assessing whether one's ideas are truly feasible, and engaging in trial and error to achieve those concepts. Yeah, I would like to see one of those lectures. That sounds cool.
Oh my God, what a cool guy, Grubb.
Yeah, I mean, he sets the tone, right, for that whole company.
100%. It makes so much sense how they don't understand how to do things online. But they understand so many other important, crucial parts of the industry. Grubb, listening to this, even though this is like machine translated, I still get the gist of it. It feels like a lot of the same philosophy someone like Hayao Miyazaki has when it comes to approaching Studio Ghibli films of, rather than continuing to remake things from the past, let's just draw inspiration from life.
Yep.
And I think, again, this feels like inadvertent shots to PlayStation, to Xbox of like, y'all are just making the same shit. What if you made something weird? What if we gave the plumber... When's the last time Super Mario or Mario had any plumbing device outside of Super Mario Sunshine?
Yeah, a plumbing device. Yeah, I don't know. It really is just FLUDD, huh? And that's barely a plumbing device.
Yeah, instead they gave him a hat that helped him possess people.
Yeah, and you can tell it's like they are like throwing out like basic concepts, basic ideas. Like, wouldn't it be fun if? And then they work backward from that about like, can that become a Mario game? And you could just tell when you're playing this stuff that's the way it works. Breath of the Wild, very similar, where it's like, you can tell, like, hey, I have this feeling when I'm like out hiking or exploring. Can we capture that through various means? And they do.
how did he come up with, or how did they come up with Ascend? I just want to know.
My God, I mean, part of me is like they just were looking for easier ways to get around, like when they're developing the game, and they're like, okay, can we? We're gonna put a roof over here. I want to make sure that like what happens if the player gets up there. Well, here's the easy way to do that. And like, this is fun. I bet it's a lot along those lines.
I would love
people in chat are saying it was a dev tool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Great. In my head, Miyamoto was crafting something and rediscovered glue.
Yeah.
And that's how we got was Ultra Hand in Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah, and Fuse, yeah.
Fuse, yeah.
Yeah, both those use kind of the glue stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think it's that is the right approach, right? Don't have this like hard and locked down vision as you are making something. If something is fun, I mean, this is how we got Sim City, right? The story is always like, hey, I was making a map editor for a helicopter game, and the map editor was way more fun, so I started making a game based on that, and then we got Sim City, and it's like, yeah, that sounds to me like the exact path to all the best games, and to do that, to accomplish that, you kind of have to start with just some fun ideas and go from there, and be willing to accept that stuff. And it sounds like that's exactly what Miyamoto preaches in these lectures. Yeah, I would love to see this. I hope they record them. They should record them all so we have them for posterity.
It's going to be on mini DV though.
Oh, listen, I'll get my mini DV player out. We'll make it work. All right, last question from the investors. When developing new hardware, it's essential to focus on Nintendo's unique style of innovation. However, if the hardware is overly unique, it might make software development challenging for third-party developers. How does Nintendo balance innovation with ease of development for external software creators? This is from another executive, Shioda, who said, the unique functions and features in our hardware are not created by the hardware development team alone. Rather, they are developed collaboratively with the software team to determine how we could deliver a unique entertainment experience. Naturally, we also consider the needs of third-party developers during this process. In development, we create various prototypes, test how they feel, and refine the ones that show the most promise. Recently, the importance of system software that runs the hardware and software has also increased. Therefore, system software developers now play a crucial role in the integrated development process. I think he's probably talking about the operating system here. Balancing uniqueness with ease of development is something we have valued over the years. Moving forward, we aim to continue producing products that reflects Nintendo's unique approach while also considering ease of development for software creators. I think this is them saying we're finding other ways to be creative and not necessarily going full-blown Wii with this next system. That's still in us. We still have that. And if we choose to go down that road, but we're not doing that with this. We're finding other, maybe more subtle ways to express ourselves. And I think that's welcome. Yeah.
100%. You keep making cardboard pianos, Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'll still buy them.
I will still build them along with you. All right, let's get these last couple stories real quick. Tons of Dreamcast and Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, please, titles to be removed from digital storefronts. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. As you may recall, Sega announced during the Game Awards last year that they were going to go big and release tons of games based on old franchises, including Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, and Shinobi. And just yesterday, it was confirmed that they have a new Virtua Fighter in development. Whether there's any connection between all this and the sad announcement that Sega delivered on Wednesday night, we don't know. But what is clear that they're now removing tons of classic games from sale on digital storefronts. This mainly affects the Sega Genesis collection, but also separate titles that were originally released mainly for the Dreamcast and Mega Drive. Sean added a note here. I'm just going to read this. Sean's note: the Steam delisting of Mega Drive classics in particular is a bummer because it's one of the only times a publisher has made DRM-free ROMs available legally for purchase. You could spend $1 to have easy access to it in the front end they made, or copy the file out in Windows Explorer to use in any fan-made emulator. That collection of, if it's the right one that I'm thinking of, is also the one where, you know, you go into a little 3D room with a CRT and a Genesis, and there's a shelf, and you could pick the games up and put them in there. You could play it in VR even, but you could add different ROMs as well from your own collection and play them in there, and that was always cool as well. So this is weird. I wonder if this is preemptive to something bigger company. Maybe they're going to do some new collection. Maybe they're going to have their own service or something. What do you think is happening here?
It does feel weird, Grubb. I don't know what their next plan would be if it isn't just coming up with a collection themselves where they
Are
want to.
they all going to be mini games in the next Crazy Taxi?
Sure. Yeah. Just throw them in the next Like a Dragon where you just spend like 50 cents.
Yeah.
I would let Like a Dragon be like my video game hub for retro
Sure.
games.
Yeah, the way like Animal Crossing on the GameCube was with my NES ROMs for a while. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I hope there's more to this story. I hope that this is the weird bummer that is like the bad news, and then we get a big swing, and it's like, oh, they're doing this, and it's incredible and awesome. Even in that scenario, I think I'd prefer them not take any of this stuff down. That would be ideal, but yeah, we'll see.
Making it easier for folks that don't want to jump through the hoops to do it, sure, but don't take it away from the people that are in the know.
Yeah, absolutely. So these things are, I think they're getting taken down actively. I don't know but if you could still buy some of these things, maybe I would rush out and try to do that, especially the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classics, which is, yeah, I mean, it looks like it's still on Steam at this moment, but we'll see. Okay. Death Stranding Director's Cut arrives today as a surprise Xbox release. This is from Alberto Garrido at Game Reactor. Hideo Kojima and Microsoft have been strengthening their relationship for some time now. The studio, led by the charismatic creative, is currently working on an Xbox exclusive title, and now we see the two companies coming together again with their first release as an independent studio. Death Stranding Director's Cut has arrived unannounced on Xbox today. The title is available from this morning on Microsoft's gaming ecosystem and is being offered at 50% off its recommended retail price for 2 weeks. A little weird that they had no sort of announcement, but it's possible that like maybe today is like the first day they legally could release this or even talk about it and promote it. And so they're like, just put it out and that'll be the announcement. And also, it's still strange because Sony does own like part of the IP, like they have the trademark and all that stuff. Like when you go on Steam, you see that Sony's listed right there, even though I don't think they published it on Steam with the Kojima Productions. But hey, yeah, cool. I'm someone who's like sort of come around in some ways on Death Stranding. I always thought it was a pretty interesting game, had some cool ideas, but now I'm like, I really appreciate it for what it is, and now more people get to play it. Great.
Yeah, 100%. I am in that same boat with you and Dan Reichert of not quite understanding the original game, but then with the director's cut, I don't want to say completely understanding it, but nodding my head politely and saying, I enjoy this now.
Exactly. Yes. It's got some cool ideas for sure. And
yes,
I like the way that idiot looks when he's carrying a bunch of stuff on his back. That is pretty fun.
Yeah, I may be Norman Reedus out, but the other trappings around the game, the fact that he gets upset when you put a pizza box horizontal or vertically instead of horizontal.
Yeah,
it's just so funny.
It's good stuff. Like I said, that attention to detail that I appreciate. Yeah.
Maybe too much attention.
Maybe too much. Yeah. All right. That does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question. The poll questions, actually. We got both of those that we need to catch up on. Let me bring those up here. All right. Looks good. There we go. All right. Do you think the live action Zelda movie will ever come out? This is a tough one. I think I'll go with yes in this moment.
I think I'm with you.
I think we're in the minority, though. 43% said yes. 57% say no. I want like the last we heard, maybe it was like scripts were coming in and weren't happy with them or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe that, how much can you trust those rumors? And that making a movie also sounds like kind of a nightmare with that stuff. So we'll see. All right. The other poll question, PS5 Pro is out this week. How do you feel about it now? Are you getting it, want it, but I'm waiting, or not getting it? I'm in the want it, but I'm waiting, along with 11% of respondents. 9% of respondents say that they are getting it, and then 80% say not getting it. So, yeah, I think that this will probably be reflective of the final number of people who end up getting a PS5 Pro relative to the PS5, somewhere between 9 and 12%, somewhere in that range. So, yeah. We'll see how it all lands. Where are you at it on the latest? Like, thinking about getting one still? Maybe not.
I'm probably not.
Yeah, I'm probably
as of
not
right
as well.
now.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if those folks that voted not getting it, if they already have a PS5 or if they just don't have any interest in consoles at all.
Yeah, and I think it's probably a mix of both, but I bet the majority probably just have a PS5 and don't feel the need to get one. Okay, that does it for the yesterday's poll questions. We have a new poll question coming here in a second. Before we get to that, though, Jan, why don't you tell people what we have going on, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
I have no idea what's going on the website.
Yeah, what are we doing? What day is it? It's Thursday.
Thursday.
We're not doing voicemail dump truck. We might do something else today. I don't know. We'll see. But then tomorrow, I think we are doing voicemail dump truck tomorrow, I think. So
okay.
Yeah, I think that's happening. We originally had it on Friday to facilitate someone's schedule, but that's not going to work out either. So, but we're going to do Friday. And yeah. Also, there's a new Astro
I'm hoping
out.
To get back into the swing of things. I think this may be the only thing I do today. Because,
yeah, you go get back in bed.
I may get back in bed. Folks, I don't know. If you're looking for a distraction from the current events of the world, specifically America, go boot up a game. Go load up a game. There's a new Astrobot level coming out, or out now.
Out now. I barely had time for the last one because of the Extra Life. So
I made a TikTok. Go follow me on TikTok. Coffee with Jan. It's the same thing as my Twitch. Also, I have a Twitch, Coffee with Jan as well, because Grubb poisoned my mind and thinking black coffee, black with a V instead of an A, because I thought it was cool in 2014, makes me sound like a certain demographic, and I don't want to be associated.
Look, you're always my black coffee. Don't worry, man. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go try the Astrobot level. I'll spend a little bit more time with that last one, too, because like I said, I really had no time to play. I played it for like an hour total. There's a lot of tricks in that last one. Sambo Nice is saying he likes this one a little bit better than that one, so we'll see. I thought so far I've been happy with all the levels. Maybe we'll play that on the website. We might do Blake Club tomorrow. It's just kind of all down to vibes. How's everyone feeling? We're trying to go pretty easy on everybody this week. We're still recovering from layoffs, and then this happens. So it's like it's 1-2 punch, huh? Can't catch a break. Jan goes to the hospital.
That was last week.
Yep.
Yeah. I needed blood.
He needed other people's blood. So the rumors are true. Man's a vampire. We knew it. All right.
I am Blade.
Oh, hell yeah. That should be your Twitch account. I am Blade. Yeah, man, that was just last week. Holy crap. All right. Hey, if you want to forget about things, go watch the Extra Life stream. It's the archive is up. The whole backup is up. It's 18 hours on YouTube. Shout outs to Sean for doing that. Just put it on because you're going to constantly stumble across some of the dumbest shit you've ever seen. And it's worth seeing.
Why was John Carson dressed up as Mr. Mime?
I don't know if there's a why to that. I don't know if there's a reason why.
All right.
He just did. And I appreciate it. It was deeply important to me. All right. All right. Let's, I think that wraps it up. Jan, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
It's the only way to start a Thursday, Grubb.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.